Hey folks, how's it going? We're going to run through the Holy build here. Now Holy's going to be a little bit behind Disc, so if you're looking to actually min-max or progression heal, definitely jump over, check out my Disc Priest vid that I actually run through their breakdown. Now let's jump into the talents. Holy's in a pretty healthy spot overall. Um, just running through a talent build. Entitlement or Enlightenment is actually the total go through. Um, Alternatively, Trial of Light is an alternative if you really need it. But Entitlement, Enlightenment pulls ahead of both alternatives because Holy Priest can do a lot once they're able to get some extra mana. So keep that in mind. As far as tier 2, Angelic Feather is the best option for the tier for the majority of encounters. If there's an encounter where you do not need the mobility of Feather, Angel's Mercy allows for more Desperate Prayers, which is good off the global cooldown defensive. But any encounter you really want to move, Feather is the way to roll. Now, Tier 3 Cosmic Ripple is the best option for raiding. It's nice, small boost to your overall heals. Don't turn it down. Just lock it and keep rolling. Tier 4 is a little bit more situational. The tier really doesn't matter for raiding a whole lot. May have some niche scenarios where you'll want an additional stun potentially. So if that's the case, Censure would be your pick. Other scenarios might demand a knockback. Then Shining Force is probably your preferred option in that build. Tier 5, Surge of Light is a very strong option and potentially even the best one if you're playing with the Flash Concentration Legendary. It gives you some free instant cast, which is nice. Prayer Circle is also a good option if you need the burst healing in a short window or when mana isn't a big deal for you. One thing to keep in mind, just because you have the buff doesn't mean you have to press Prayer of Healing. Keep that in mind. Don't go burn a bunch of mana for no reason. Tier 6, Benediction and Halo are great each for raiding. Each of them has some requirements. With Benediction, you'll have to use Prayer of Mending as often as possible to max it. It'll be good in all sorts of situations. Alternatively, with Halo, your positioning matters a lot as you can't really reliably press it when you want to, depending on how the fight goes. On top of that, it's a bit dangerous on certain fights where you CC adds. It'll easily break any kind of CC you have in place. Finally, Tier 7, we're going to recommend Holy Word Salvation. It's really just the best option from a hands down perspective. It's one of the best healing cooldowns in the entire game. So if you're super passionate about healing, Holy might be the one for you. From a Covenant perspective, they're all relatively close. If you're really looking to push progression, like Necrolord and Kyrian are a little bit of a buff to your throughput, like 2 to 4%. But alternatively, there's real no throughput buff for Night Fae and Venthyr. So if you want to chase that 2 to 4% increase in throughput, jump over to Kyrian or Necrolord accordingly. From a legendary perspective, there's actually a ton of great legendaries out there, but the ones you want to stack up, the Flash Concentration, you heard us mention that earlier, Harmonious Apparatus, and Zancy, Return of Archbishop Benedictus. Archbishop Benedictus is definitely an oldie, but it's fun to hear the reference to many years ago favorite character of ours if you're familiar with a certain dungeon. Really, Zanshi is the Return of Archbishop Benedictus. It's kind of the cheese mechanic legendary. After Spirit of Redemption expires, you revive up to 100% health based on your effectiveness during Spirit of Redemption. So after reviving, you can't benefit from Spirit of Redemption again for 10 minutes, but hey, this was a huge fan favorite in Legion when it rolled out. It was a real major joy. Really happy to see it come back in Shadowlands. Once per encounter, you can basically return back to life after dying without consuming a combat res. That's super valuable, especially when you're trying to progress and mistakes commonly happen. Alright folks, finally, if you're just completely new to the spec, you want to talk stat rating. So intellect is your go-to stat. If you can get that higher, go for it. After that, you want mastery. Mastery's a little bit, but just about on par with crit. Crit's ahead of verse. And then finally, haste is the least beneficial secondary stat for us. So keep that in mind. Alright folks, that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know how Halo goes. I'm interested to see if anybody sneaks a couple of holy Halo healers into the Sanctum of Domination raid. Thanks for watching.